All right, what's going on, guys? You're listening to the Road Trip Podcast, and we're breaking history today. Finally, it just occurred to me, that would be really, really cool and interesting to get people, some listeners on the podcast that have been doing my programs, have been making incredible transformations, and really to get them on because it's a lot easier to relate to some of these people. So I actually have Nicholas on the podcast. He went through my word shredding program. We did some coaching together, and we've talked a little bit, and he just blows my mind. He really gets the system, and he's made some amazing transformations. And hearing him talk about it, like literally, my eyes light up. So, what's going on? How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to see you again and chat. It's always I think sometimes if we are chatting, we could chat for hours because we are about these things and new and revelation. So it's cool to be here with you.
Exactly. And so, just to give people a little bit of a inside look about who you are, because a lot of people think that, building a great body or being like lean year round is more for athletes or people that work in the fitness industry. But you run your own business essentially, right?
Yeah. So I'm basically a serial entrepreneur, but I'm a co-founder of this company called Restoration Media, and we're a big data analytic email marketing firm, primarily focused in the job search space. So we own and operate a total of about 7 in the U.S. and a total of 10 globally job search engines, and we're about a 40-person company, and I was a co-founder and I've been the president for 12 years here, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been involved in a lot of business, lots of different areas over my course, but I've always been involved in restoration media. So I do run the day-to-day operations here and kind of strategically focus on our international expansion. And so I travel a lot for that, and then I'm also one of my personal kind of hobbies is an art collector. So my partner and I, we collect Latin American art and the focus on contemporary abstraction. So that's kind of how I blend the two things. But yeah, I'm definitely active in business and philanthropy and all sorts of other things.
Man, that's really cool. I'm actually impressed with the art collection part of that, because I never really, because you're a young guy, you're in your,
I'm 30, I'm 31. We'll be 32 in February.
Okay, you're in your early 30s, so I mean, it doesn't, like, the art collecting thing seems to be more tied into people that are older. It's like not something that I would ever see myself getting into in the next 10 years.
We started collecting because we found when we began building our office spaces and stuff, we were like, well, we don't really want to invest money into putting stuff on the walls that really isn't strong and rich and actually has some quality to it. So we began collecting for that interest of really supporting the arts and things of that nature, and we have some background in arts and some family connections and things like that. And then we basically just figured, it was something that we wanted to evolve more as a personal kind of aspect, and then it just kind of blew up like sometimes things do. You realize that I'm deep down a big collector. I call it organized hoarding sometimes, but I collect all sorts of things, and art is one of them, but in a very, very strategic way. So we do have a foundation called Sayago and Pardone, and we have a full-time staff of about 5 people that are dedicated to the collection, and it's a pretty significant process. We do international exhibitions, and the collection, I think, in total is about 1,500 works. So the new space that I was mentioning to you earlier that we're moving to in Irvine will actually open the collection to the public. So it will be open to the public here in Orange County, California.
Wow, damn. Well, obviously we're not here today to talk about art.
Yep.
So we're gonna shift gears and first of all, how I'm always interested. Like, what first made you really interested in getting really fit? Like, when did you realize, you know what? I don't want to just be average. I want to look amazing, or I want to be strong and such. When did that click for you?
I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I had had that young, had that easy, good metabolism when I was younger, and then I started sitting behind a desk every day, and then I never really saw anything changed in the mirror, but then I realized I was like, oh, I don't look the same as I used to, which was, very lean. I'm 6'2", so I mean, I was always really lean growing up, and then I think at one point my max was like 210 pounds, and I was like, shit, how did I get here? And then I figured, okay, well, I'm going to start at least just making a conscious effort. And I think what happens, honestly, is with success sometimes you inherently start eating out more and you start living these great things, and and I was very comfortable with my relationship and my business, so I had a lot of comfort, so I didn't think I was concerned about the aesthetics or the fitness or the lifestyle. But then I realized, okay, well, now I just want to make a change because I want to try to complete the package of saying, like, I want to be fit, I want it mentally, physically. And I also think that there's something that has to do with, for me, I started to do just minor workouts, but more just like walking and just being outdoors and things like that. And for me, it was really beneficial for that disconnect from the office. So I liked that, and that's kind of where I figured I'd start to make a change. And I tried a trainer and all that nonsense in the middle, and I never felt like I was actually just controlling my own destiny in some sense. And so it started with that, and then I realized at some point, well, I need to really hone in. And then once I started to see that I was able to make progress, and I think I dropped my weight down to I dropped it like 30 pounds just by doing just minor cardio, hanging out, going walking, going by the beach, things like that. Then I realized, okay, well, to really make a change, I need to transform, because I had very little muscle mass. You can't just inherently lean out and and have the aesthetic that you want. So then that's when I came across multiple programs, and then nothing really fit me. I mean, it just wasn't for me. And then I think I was like, I searched for the American Psycho, body or something, and that led me to you. And then I bought the Warrior Shredding program, and I read it, and I was like, oh, this is perfect, because I think inherently so much of my weight loss was surrounded around eating what's right for me, that I already kind of had the nutrition down, and I was willing to commit to nutrition and being able to eat that calorie deficit. So I was already mentally there at that level. So for me, it was perfect to have a program that was somehow designed for it. Because, I mean, I hear it all the time. I just had a friend come to me yesterday, and he's like, I just started I worked out with a trainer, and he told me to eat 6,000 calories a day. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, you can, and that's what was credible to me, is even eating in what I was considering a deficit, I was still gaining strength. So that was so then I said, okay, maybe this is the program for me. And that's kind of how I led to start, and then how I kind of found the Warriors to how I found the Warrior Shredding program.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's a really cool story. I mean, I actually know a number of people that where they kind of were in those shoes, where they were pretty fit in their early 20s. They got consumed with work, and then with that led to just partying and going out to 5-star restaurants and eating more. And when you're not totally on top of what you put into your mouth, and you just think you can eat whatever you want and stay the way you are, well, it hits you. It hits you as you progress in your 20s, and then all of a sudden, like, damn, I have 30 pounds that I have to get rid of.
Yeah, it happens quick, honestly.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is there's so much, and I think there's a lot of people out there who, you get overweight, but then you don't have that muscle foundation. I didn't play a lot of sports when I was growing up. I didn't work out when I was growing up. So I really didn't build a lot of muscle. And so I didn't have the foundation, so I had to build the foundation. So I had to lose all the weight, and then I had to build the foundation, where there's a lot of people who had the foundation and they return to it, where that's what can be so frustrating for someone who was lean their whole life. They didn't really build much of a foundation of muscle mass or anything like that to return to, or muscle memory even. So it's kind of like that combination. So I had to lose all this weight, and then I had to transform, and then I had to lean, and then I had to cut, and then I had to bulk up a little bit. And so it's nothing that happens in 90 days, and I think the fitness world teaches us that we can obtain this perfection, and I don't think we're ever really obtaining perfection. You're obtaining what's perfect for you. But they teach that you can obtain that in a short period of time, and I think you can achieve a lot of results in 90 days, but you're not going. This is an ongoing process, and I think that's what changed for me, is that I realized that at least the Warrior Shredding program for me was a lifestyle that I wanted to follow even after the 90 days, even after the 6 months. And I even told you, like, even after going to Greek God and Recomp, I'm back to Warrior Shredding in a modified way just because it works for me. And so I think that as soon as I realized that this is an ongoing process, not just a 90-day transformation, it started to stick with me a little bit more that I'm in this for the long run. I'm not just trying to have a 90-day transformation and then I'm going to go back to my old habits.
Exactly. Okay. Well, I mean, I like the fact that you did work with trainers, but a lot of people, like, they, maybe they're really dedicated in certain areas of life and working, and so they kind of just they put their fitness in someone else's hands essentially. So like, I'll just work with a trainer, or I'll just I'll just have them handle my workouts. But you actually sought to kind of understand this stuff on your own, so you can kind of learn the tools, which is a great thing to do. I mean, because eventually no one really knows your body better than yourself. So I mean, if you can be able to learn why you do certain things, learn how to almost teach. Because I like, with my courses and stuff, and even my coaching, I like to kind of teach people how to fish as opposed to just give them the fish. I used to do personal training, but one of the reasons I didn't like it was because I wouldn't really hire a personal trainer. Like, sure, if I was, if I needed to, I'd work with a trainer a few sessions, but eventually I'd want to progress and do it on my own. I don't like the idea of being reliant and such, and so it's cool that you kind of started to move away from that model, and started to kind of figure things out on your own.
I think a lot of it, Greg, has to do with the concept that I always hear it. I'm going to go find the trainer that has the body that I want, and then I'm going to have him train me. But I don't think the two roads are the same. Like, I don't think you get to the same like if I want the same thing as this, I don't think we get there the same way. Our bodies aren't programmed that way. And I think what I realized was that I did learn a lot from trainers. I learned my way around the gym, because the gym can be very intimidating. I learned to feel comfortable with the equipment and things like that, and maybe had someone to help me perfect my form and, things like that. But at the end of the day, I hated knowing that Wednesday I had to be there at like 8 a.m., but maybe I just wanted to go at 7 p.m. that day because I felt more that day. So what I liked is taking control of my program, even though I had structure and I knew what I was doing. I was able to do it when I wanted to do it. So let's say today I don't feel like working chest. Like, maybe I don't want to do workout A today just because I don't want to. So I just don't do it. And then I do it tomorrow. Where if you have that, some people I think need that regimen, and I think it does help to get started sometimes. But at the end of the day, for me, it just wasn't working because and then all of a sudden I would always have the trainers telling me what I didn't want. They'd be like, it's bulking season and you need to add muscle and this. It's like, no, I want to be lean all year round. That's what I like. I don't want to have a bulking season and then a cutting season. I just want to be beach ready all the time. That's what I want. And it was okay for me. And I'm okay with eating I don't want to have 3,500 or 4,000 calorie meals, during winter. Like, that wasn't my interest, and I don't think you need to do that. So I feel if you follow this program, you can have that flexibility. For me, sometimes I don't work out for 2 to 3 weeks, and I don't see any physical change. Sometimes I lose weight. I'm like, what's happening here? Just because I'm, disconnected or that type of thing. But I think that was great for me, is I just felt like this program really just became a lifestyle for me. And I liked the idea that I was controlling my own destiny and someone else really wasn't involved. And I liked the idea that said, I'm doing this all myself. It wasn't someone else. It wasn't a trainer who was motivating me. I was motivating myself, and I was really all about that program. And I think that's what you keep. You're more, I know it's harder, you always are more willing to let yourself down, but as soon as you get over that, I think you're much more, honest with yourself sometimes, and that I think at the end of the day helps, because you can't really make excuses to yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's huge. Now let's kind of, because you've experimented with other programs before. What was it about? We'll start with nutrition. But what was it about, like, the nutrition aspects of Warrior Shredding program that made it very easy to stick to, that made you get really good results, and just made you want to continue doing it after you got to your goal?
I mean, for example, before I did the Warrior Shredding program, I was on Mike Matthews' Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. Cool program, but again, so different in many ways, because I think there's a lot of people out there who, if you've been at a point where you had weight to lose and you were able to do it through nutrition, you already are geared towards not eating a lot. And I will tell you, this is something that I've battled with. I still have mental issues with eating large amounts of calories. I really do, because I feel like I'm moving towards that area where I don't want to be again, which was eating a lot of food. So for me, I know nutrition and a calorie is not equal. But at the end of the day, I feel like I am fueled on not tons of calories. I eat very clean. I eat primarily chicken. And so what I liked about the Warrior Shredding program was the training program was designed for that nutrition program. Mm-hmm. Then you throw in fasting into the mix, and then you start to feel like you're actually not eating at a deficit, because you're eating these large meals. And many times, you're working at a deficit, but you feel fully satisfied. So for me, I really liked the program, but I didn't like, I liked the aspect of the amount of time that you were in the gym, in combination with a really solid nutrition program that kept you satisfied. It was really beneficial for me to, I felt like the program, and I think really one of the reasons that I was so keen on it was it just worked for my lifestyle. And I think there's probably a lot of people who are like me, very busy and don't have this extremely flexible schedule, what to eat and that type of thing. So it made meal planning easy. And also the time in the gym, I did workout B yesterday, primarily with minor modifications from the actual program. And I was in and out of the gym in 35, 40 minutes. I have, but I still filled it. I still increased my weights. I'm still getting stronger, and I'm still getting leaner. So when I saw that result of being able to put on muscle, my strength was growing, but while my weight was kind of maintaining or going up, but I was getting leaner, I was sold on the program, because I wasn't able to find that from a lot of other programs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up earlier, is when you mentioned that at first you didn't have that foundation. So when you first lost weight before the Warrior Shredding program, you didn't have the look that you wanted. And I think a lot of approaches that people take to lose weight are just designed to just lose as much weight as possible. So they do lots of cardio, and they do lots of extreme dieting, and so they'll lose muscle and fat. That's all they're going for, is a scale weight. But they won't look that much better. Or they'll go to the gym and lose circuits and high reps. They'll do stuff that doesn't build any strength. But it's crazy to me that more and more people are not catching on to the fact that when you're cutting, the idea is to lose body fat and maintain muscle. The only way to do that sufficiently is to stay very, very strong, or better yet, get stronger.
Yeah.
Very few programs are designed in that format, and those that are don't understand the whole principle that if you're cutting, you can't train as hard as if you're eating 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 calories a day. You'll just end up plateauing or regressing. And so I think people will catch on in the next several years. But if you want to look really good and you're cutting down, you got to cut back on the training. Focus on essential. Focus on keeping the weights heavy. And if you can get stronger, most people that do my programs do get stronger. Then that's like bonus points.
Well, I think it was also was a combination of not always just focusing on all the numbers. Like, weight is just such a small thing. I'm 6'2". I like a good bench press for me is maybe 195 pounds, and I weigh 164 pounds. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, it was like these ratios. I had taken my strength even up beyond that when I was doing Greek God and eating a little bit more calories and stuff. But for me, I thought I always liked that ratio. I was very strong. I mean, I was stronger than most of my friends, and I felt very confident with my strength. But at the end of the day, I mean, most people that you ask me, they would never say that I'm 165 pounds, 164 pounds. I mean, they're going to give me everyone's going to give you, maybe gives me 20 more pounds just because of the leanness.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that's why it was like a visual thing. But then, like I told you, that was a battle for me because I really like to go to the gym. I like to do that. So it is hard. Some people think that more work is going to create more, more strength or more work. So I've learned, rest is key. I mean, I do a lot more. I like a lot of cardio and things like that, just more mentally. So I do, spinning and things like that. But I structured that into my program where it's not an issue for me because I compensate with calories and I compensate with my nutrition program. But at the end of the day, when I first started on this program, I was doing very minor cardio because it wasn't a thing for me. And then I thought, as I got more fit, cardio and some of these like group activities, I do them with corporate events and things like that. We have a weekly spin class here at Restoration Media and stuff like that. But I do all those, and those kind of became my sport in some way. So I did enjoy that. But yeah, I mean, I think that the idea about you can continue. I continue to gain strengths and continue to reach like plateau. I reach a plateau, but then I still achieve new strength gains just following the same program. So it's just time. I think if you're trying to see, I mean, for me, it's just now that I'm kind of on this recomp idea, it's just I stick with what I'm doing and I make minor modifications as needed.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's really just the idea with looking good, making progress year round is, keeping the nutrition dialed in, staying lean, and then allowing that strength to come up. I truly believe that it's like the idea that we have to eat a ton of calories to build muscle is largely bullshit. It's completely wrong. If you're able to, keep your weight around where it is, and then add 20 pounds to some of your lifts, your muscles will grow bigger. There's no doubt about that. And people just are too obsessed with the number on the scale. They like the idea of gaining 20 pounds, in 3-4 months. That's cool. But they don't realize that, the amount of muscle you can build naturally is very, very finite. There's only so much muscle you can build. And so if you're trying to build 20 pounds in 3 months, you're going to gain a lot of fat. And your strength can only build so fast. So I mean, if you were to gain like 20 pounds on your weighted chin-ups, but gain 5 pounds of body weight, versus gain 20 pounds on your weighted chin-ups, but gain 20 pounds of body weight, well, you're basically essentially gain the same amount of muscle, but one person's going to have a lot more fat. And so it's like you don't want to eat any more that you can like if you're eating more but gain the same amount of strength, you're just going to gain more fat with the muscle.
And I wasn't willing to do that. I wasn't willing to gain 1 pound of fat. I hate it. Like, it just doesn't work for me. Mentally, it doesn't. Not because, I mean, it's not purely the aesthetic aspect. I just don't like it. It doesn't, I mean, I think I worked so hard to get lean that I'm not interested in going back there. And I think the ups and downs just don't work for me. Like, I want to maintain something and constantly growing. I think it works the same way in business. Like, we don't decrease the quality of what we're doing to grow. I mean, we just kind of stay on the course, perfect our process, and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's like kind of the same way with respect to training. It's like you don't have to just be going up and down all the time. You can still be progressing, and slow and steady, is better, because I feel like, again, that's that benefit of going on, a vacation for 2 or 3 weeks and coming home and looking great, and you don't always. So I think that has to do with where if you're always on these cycles, it's not as satisfying, let's say, because I'm always satisfied with my progress. I always have gains, no matter what. Some weeks I won't gain in other areas, but and the gains become slower and slower. But it's all about perfecting. If you're like, why am I not gaining here? Well, maybe I need to try to add a little bit of calories. Maybe I need to on my lifting days, you always, like, when you go in the gym, once you learn your body, you know why you're not lifting heavy that day because of what you did. Maybe you didn't get enough rest. Maybe you didn't eat enough calories the day before. I always know. So because once you tweak it enough, you know what you need to do to get stronger week after week, and that's not eating tons of calories. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that. And that's a message that more and more people need to allow to sink in, because so many of us have been kind of brainwashed with the idea that you want to get big, eat to grow, eat to grow, eat to grow, eat to grow, eat to grow. Sure, if you eat a lot, you will grow, you'll get bigger, but it never ends up looking good. Mm-hmm. If you're going for that like crisp, lean, chiseled Hollywood physique, the last advice I would give someone is eat a lot of food, eat a lot of food, eat a lot of food. That might work for one out of 30 people. Like, yeah. One out of 30 people might need that advice because literally they just don't eat enough. And if I tell them eat a ton of food, they're gonna end up eating like a normal amount.
Yeah. That's like me, basically, sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, Nick, you need to eat a little bit more. But I think a lot of that just comes down to when you eat really clean, sometimes it's hard to consume the calories that you need. So, if you just, for me, a lot of my meals, it's just very lean proteins with, really clean carbs, potatoes and veggies. And I think that's a way big thing. For me, I started cooking all my meals at home. All that stuff, really cut out all that eating out. So now for me, it's like between fasting and I'm between my fast and then my maybe 2 meals and maybe a snack a day, I'm fully satisfied. And then sometimes I look at my calorie, think about my calorie intake, and I'm like, oh shoot, did I eat enough today? But I was fully satisfied the whole time. So that's where I think sometimes I know if I see my strengths not excelling as I'd like, I usually just kind of add a little bit, here and there, maybe add, boost up that snack or something, and and then it helps me kind of continue to see a little bit of strength gains, but never doing anything too drastic.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you, so do you stick to strictly 2 meals, or do you do like the 2 meals and the small meal? Because I know some people do either or.
Yeah, my normal diet lately is I fast till about 1 or 2. So I'm still fasting right now. Fast till about 1 or 2, maybe it works well for me like that. And then at that point, I usually will eat my my lunch, and then I usually will have a snack. Some carbs before, maybe a little bit of carbs before my workout, maybe, and then might do a protein shake following the workout because there's a little bit of time between that and dinner. So that usually is my snack, but a lot of it more is like just kind of how I'm feeling, and it's all just usually a feeling. My snack's usually like a turkey stick, maybe some, maybe an apple, protein shake, that thing. After I fast, I believe I should never have hunger. That's kind of my mental. So during the fast, hunger might be there a little bit, and I work through that with a little bit of caffeine. I drink, espressos, no sugar, and then my number one trick is like my Perrier, like my sparkling water is like my I think it's great because I stay super super hydrated, but sparkling water totally helps me with my fast, and then. But now fasting is super easy for me. It's not an issue. But after I end my fast, definitely shouldn't have any hunger. That's kind of my goal. Till sleep. Hunger just totally creates a lot of irritation, I think. Even I can't sleep well if I'm hungry, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely think that's how I gear up for where I'm going to snack or things like that.
You know what? Actually, I love the way you put it. That's so true. It's like, you're getting yourself in that fat burning mode essentially during the fast, and then after that fast, if you do it right, you should be able to hit that calorie deficit, but never really be hungry during that feasting portion. So if you're eating, if you're breaking your fast at 2 o'clock, and then you're having a couple meals in, the next 6, 8, 9 hours, you should stay full the whole time. And and maybe you have like your first meal at 2 o'clock, but then like 6 or 7 o'clock, you're about to hit the gym, you're a bit hungry, then you have like that apple or a turkey stick, which actually I've not heard of. A turkey stick. What's a turkey stick?
Well, there's this there. It's basically like like a Slim Jim basically, but there's this farm called they're called Nick Sticks. Anyways, they're just super lean. They're about 75 calories for 2 sticks. So 4 of these sticks, which are pretty good, pretty filling. 150 calories, basically all protein, no additives, no sugar. That's the one thing since we last spoke. 0 sugar. I cut it out completely. They had a little bit of kind of some issue areas, like of kind of some remnant kind of fat. I mean, I'm very like picky now, because I like get into like areas of focus. But yeah, for me, I cut out all sugar. I mean, I had cut out sugar in like during the fast period, but was eating some refined sugars. But now I've completely cut out all the sugars. So that was really a challenging part for me to find healthy snacks and healthy things that didn't contain a lot of sugar. Someone told me, was like, I was saying, God, I really want to continue to focus on my leanness and my abdomen area and things like that and stuff. And they were like, are you eating sugar? And I said, well, I am, but I don't think I'm eating a lot. And then I went back and analyzed my whole diet. Even though I was calorically focused, the amount of sugar I was consuming was crazy. And most of it was coming from these beef product, like beef jerky, turkey jerky, those type of products. I was amazing how much sugar and stuff was added to those, and then just sugar in almost everything that we eat. So cutting out all of that has been a huge benefit for me. I even feel more satisfied. My energy levels are so much better. So yeah, I sleep a lot better. Not that I had issues, but yeah, a lot of benefits by cutting out the sugar completely.
So, cool. And what's the turkey thing called again? Those turkey sticks?
Nick's Sticks.
Nick's Sticks. All right, that's
like
cool.
My name and then Sticks. They sell them on Amazon. That's where I originally bought them. But then I buy them directly from the farm. Like they have a website, nicksticks.com. But yeah, I don't own it, so I'm giving them a free shout out. But
yeah,
honestly, they're really good. So finding healthy snacks that don't have sugars is a difficult thing. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm always curious. Like, what is your go-to meal? What is your favorite meal that just fills you right up and you absolutely love?
So for lunch, it's salmon nigiri, 18 to 22 pieces of salmon. People go crazy when they see my plate of how much sushi I'll eat. Basically, it's
what's salmon nigiri?
So it's just basically salmon, sashimi basically, on top of a rice. So my typical order of that is 1 cup of rice for about 20 pieces.
Oh wow, okay. And
so it's a lot.
At a restaurant or?
No, I bring it back to the office, but from a local place right around the corner that makes it for me. So that's it's kind of a little bit of a treat for me because I love salmon's super kind of it's great in nutrients, and it's also kind of a little bit expensive. So that's kind of like my everyday. I'm always like, damn, I can't do that. But that's my favorite like lunch, and it's amazing how filling that is. It gives you super amounts of energy. But my go-to dinner, and I told you I cook at home every night, is basically about 10 to 12 ounces of chicken. I cook that in the oven with some basic spices and stuff, and then I usually will do fingerling potatoes with just a little bit of olive oil on those, and then I love cucumber and tomato salad with a little bit of feta cheese and olive oil, and that's kind of my go-to. That was basically if I didn't have to cook for anyone else and I could just be eating the same thing over and over again, that's probably what I would eat. But since I have people over and then they're like, you're crazy.
Well, I know. But it's funny is that when you are essentially following the warrior shredding program, when you're putting yourself in that deficit, you're burning some fat each day. When you're fasting, you're taking that solid period of time away from food. And when you're training, you start to appreciate food so much more. So you don't need to have different stuff all the time. Like know what I'm saying? If you were to like have breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, if you were to be eating 3,000 plus calories a day, you'd get bored having that dinner every night. You're like, oh, I don't want this because you're overstimulated with food. But
Yep.
when you strip away the food and you're like in a deficit, you're burning fat. It's like your body starts to crave the stuff it really wants, and so you can have that same dinner, and that tastes good, and you'll enjoy it every night, no question about it.
Yeah, I think like it's a lot of people don't like it when I say it, but it's like I started to look at my typical food intake besides when I go out and have a good time and drink or go out and have a nice dinner or something as purely just fuel. And I know it sounds like very kind of like meatheadish in some standpoint, but it's like I know if I eat something that I don't like or that it's not good for me in some sense, I'm going to feel it the next day. And so it's not just feeling it in my training, it's like feeling it, through my fast. If I don't eat a good lunch, or if I don't eat a good dinner, I'm not going to be able to take my fast to this level. And it's not because I'm like goaling to fast, it's because it's like just my schedule. It become my regimen and things like that. So, if I know if I don't eat a good hearty meal, then I'm going to be super hungry when I wake up, and I'm not going to like the feeling of that. And then I'm going to have to eat, and then I'm going to throw my regimen off, and that type of thing. So it's not that I consume myself with that thought. It just becomes more of just a habit. So eating the same thing over and over again is very easy for me, but at the same time, I do so also find it challenging to kind of mix it up a little bit, and I'm open to all sorts of recipes, and I try all sorts of different things, especially like doing my own cooking. Saves a lot of time sometimes because actually going out, you think it's kind of more convenient, but honestly, it's at the end of the day, it's not all that convenient. It's more inconvenient. So especially when what you want to consume, you just have it there and you just cook it up and make your lunch for the next day or whatever.
Yeah, no, I concur there. I like to like go out a couple nights a week for different meals and such because I just find I'm more motivated. Like I follow through better on the other days. But of course, I gotta find like meals that actually like kind of suit me, and usually that's like a big portion of meat and some potatoes or some delicious fries. Um, and so let's talk about. Actually, wait. Before we go ahead,
Yeah.
I'm always like I'm in love with potatoes. And so, how do you do fingerling potatoes?
So the fingerling potatoes, how do I cook them?
Yeah.
I I put them in like a Pyrex. First off, I just mix them in a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, paprika, and a little bit of parsley. Kind of shake that up so they're coated in a little bit of olive oil. I lay them into the Pyrex, pour a little bit of white wine in there in the bottom, mix it with a little bit of water, cover it with aluminum foil, 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 55 minutes, and they're perfect.
Okay, and fingerling potatoes, is that like a certain way of cutting them?
No, the fingerlings are those little small potatoes. The ones that are like brown and light yellow and red and black.
Are they, are they circular?
Yeah, they're circular. They're long. They're like fingerlings because they look like little fingers.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Sorry, I just go by different names.
What
Um,
do you guys call them?
I don't even know. I just get russet potatoes pretty much, and I know like
Oh, I love a big baked potato, but if you look up fingerling potatoes, you'll see they're like almost like a mixed heirloom potato. So but they're like this big. They're tiny.
okay.
So so you can when I say like I mix them around, it's almost like they're like the size of like little tiny tomatoes basically.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I have to give those a shot because my go-to with potatoes are like baked potato wedges, which I find crispy and delicious. But I'm gonna have to do some fingerlings soon.
Well, I do baked potatoes all the time. I do just baked potatoes, put a little bit of olive oil on the outside of the skin, put a little bit of sea salt, wrap it up in aluminum foil, and cook it that way. And the skin gets super tasty and soft, and I just kind of just eat the whole potato in one go.
Right. And kind of skipping backwards, I like how you mentioned the whole idea that that for you, like really eating is really to fuel yourself, but really it's because you know that if you eat properly, you're gonna feel better the next day. You're gonna have more energy, maybe think clearer, and it's gonna be easier to kind of stick to the regimen. And so, and when you do that, and when you kind of fall off the horse, it tends to just screw up your vibe. When you're like making progress, you feel so good, you're happy, everything kind of is flowing better. So it makes complete sense. And so I think it's important. Like, I think a lot of people get stuck into eating foods to kind of satisfy certain reward pathways. You know, we didn't experience that sensation we want, so we go to food for it. So I mean, for you, like, what kind of like keeps you, what kind of triggers that for you? Like, what do you do to really pleasure yourself, aside from like, you know, delicious, healthy meals?
Well, I mean, I think the idea is, so I have alcohol.
That sounded really wrong. That could have sounded.
I was like, okay. Yeah, we'll keep it G-rated.
What are the things you do that bring you a lot of joy, essentially?
Well, I mean, I'm very good about, you know, the areas. Like I said, I do drink alcohol, so that's, you know, for me, it's like I see that with any, you know, with everything, I don't make a lot of sacrifices. Everyone, you know, even like you said, I mean, I know you post pictures on your Instagram and things like that of like you eating like these monster meals and stuff like that. And when I want to eat like that, I eat like that. I don't care. Like, it really, I don't ever really try to have any regret about that. I try not. And mentally, I don't think it's healthy. You know, because if you just are in those situations and you want to do it, you do it. I mean, if I just want to go out and have like an amazing pasta meal or something like that, or I want to just, I mean, last week I went out, you know, and I had a big night out for Halloween, and I wasn't feeling that well the next morning from, you know, a little bit too much alcohol consumption, and I ate a whole pizza. Mm-hmm. You know, so I really don't have a lot of regret about those other things because I know I'm basically 95% there all the time. So I usually just kind of fluctuate it. When I'm traveling, I eat dessert. It doesn't, you know, I don't ever feel like I'm on a diet. That's the difference. I just don't feel like I'm on a diet. I don't even really call it a nutrition plan. It's just, I just eat what I've learned to eat, and I eat what I like. But definitely, I feel like I don't see any, like I said, I don't see, maybe it's just the aspect of your body has, you know, your body makes a transformation, and so it knows, you know, what is norm. But when you go abnormal, I just don't think you have to regret, you know, I never really regret. So I just do what I want to do, and in many ways, but with some moderation involved, you know.
Yeah, and they've done studies where they made people feel really, really guilty after having a treat, and then they put them into a situation where they were at a buffet, and so it's actually, I'll kind of backtrack. So they had two people like eat like a sugar donut, or they had two groups of people eating a sugar donut. One group, they said, "I can't believe you ate that donut. Like, you didn't deserve that. Like, it's going right to your hips. Like, you're gonna get fat. Like, you shouldn't. That's unhealthy." And then they brought that group to a buffet, and they actually ended up eating like almost 50% more food than the other group, where they had the donut. Like, look, it's okay. You're only human. It's fine. It's just one donut. Don't feel bad about it. Because when you feel guilty, like it ends up working against you. You end up it ends up pulling you backwards. And then you're like, yeah, what the hell? I've already ruined this. I'm no good. I might as well just make myself fat because I don't deserve to be fit, or because I've already blown my diet. That kind of thing that operates on an unconscious level. Once you truly kind of pull back and look at what's going on, what you're telling yourself, then you're like, whoa, this is what's going on here, which is kind of cool. So it's good.
I mean, I had a lot of regret a lot of times, and then I would go the next day and want to make up for it and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I think it's good to be aware of what you're doing, but at the same time, I mean, it's life. Like, you know, you just gotta, you just have to be aware of that. And I totally agree with you on those type of things. And I think, like, for example, like if I've cut out sugar, but I mean, when I want to eat dessert, I eat sugar. When I want to have a glass of wine, I have sugar. It's all about just making a conscious decision about your choices, but not regretting them. You know, it's always important to be aware of the choices that you're making. But at the same time, I mean, once you make the choice, then that's just what you wanted to do at that moment in time. And I do think that is easier said than done, let's be clear. I mean, a lot of people have issues with nutrition, and I did at one point. So overcoming that hurdle, sometimes you might have to have a little regret. Sometimes you're going to have those issues where you're going to say, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. And I think that is important. But then once you have worked hard to achieve goals and to really, then you can let that rain down a little bit on yourself. Otherwise, none of this is pleasurable.
Yes. Yes.
Nor is it maintainable. That's the other thing. You have to make sure that what you're doing fitness-wise is maintainable. And if it's not, then you're never going to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's beautifully said. And as you're saying just earlier, yes, like you have to. Well, actually, just to kind of bring up a point, I mean, people. One question I get every now and again, I think everyone kind of stumbles and wonders about this, is like, oh, if I have a really bad day of eating, do you try and make up for it the next day? And so I've like laid down my decision on this, and no. You do the exact you do your program exactly the way it's supposed to be the next day. Because what happens is when people have these days of eating where they overblow it, it's not like they just had that little bowl of ice cream that added a couple hundred calories. They went really overboard. They ate 1,000 or 2,000 plus extra calories. Well, trying to like starve yourself the next day and eat 1,000 calories, that's what exacerbates the issue. You need to, like, if you want to learn how to enjoy yourself and maybe enjoy a treat without overblowing it, you need to stop going in the opposite direction. You need to stop trying to like do 2 hours of cardio and 900 calories to compensate. Because when you do that extreme day, what happens is you end up kind of going right back to the binge eating.
Yeah.
4 days later.
Well, I think you confuse your body so much that it doesn't know what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do I store this? I mean, I'm not that educated when it comes to this, but I think about those logics is like, think about it as a mental standpoint. The way your body would be is like, if I know that I'm going back to the normal regimen the next day, I don't need to store any of this. I'm just going to get rid of it, The only thing that I follow, and I will tell you, is I sometimes will prepare for knowing when I'm going to go crazy. Like, for example, like you said, leave room for it. Like, if I know, like, on Thursday night, I've got a friend going back to the UK. We're going to go out. I'm aware of that. So it's not that I'm going to make up for it, but I'm mentally aware of it. So I might, cut back my calories a little bit at dinner so I can, drink maybe a little bit more or at lunch. Or I might not have my snack because I know I'm not going to be doing a workout, so I might not need it as much. So I'm aware of it, so I'm planning for it, but I don't think that you should make changes the following day and extend your fast or skip your lunch, because I think you just teach your body to store that stuff versus just getting rid of it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's well said. There's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between making room for something, cutting back here to enjoy something, versus like kind of punishing yourself for a day or even 2 days to try and get back to square one. It's like getting back to square one isn't the issue.
Well, you become miserable doing it too.
Yeah.
I mean, like having to if you weren't gonna go. I mean, I like to do cardio, but at those type of things is like I hate to do cardio if I feel like I'm trying to make up for a dessert. Like that's no fun.
No, that's a wrong mental shift for sure.
It is. Yeah. I will do cardio because I'm getting stronger, because I'm mentally disconnecting, and do it for the right reasons, not for like, having yourself make up for like punishing yourself, because then your workouts become punishment, not become, progress.
Right. Now, just to kind of finish off, we talked a lot about a lot of stuff. Just to kind of wrap up on like a really good final note. One thing that I really believe is if someone's going to excel in one area of life, they're probably going to excel in a lot of other things they set their mind to. And actually, when I had Elliot Holst on the podcast, we talked about this, and what you're saying is basically you can't change who you are. Like, who you are is always coming through. And so people that tend to excel in their work life or in their business, I find that when they stick to a nutrition program, they tend to do better. Same thing why like people that were athletes in high school that played high level hockey or basketball or football, when they train years later to build muscle or to lose fat, they tend to assert themselves a lot more than people that didn't have any athletic experience. Not always. There's obviously exceptions there, but it's just like a commonality that I see. And so, I mean, for you, like, what are some keys that have led you to become successful in multiple areas of your life?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that fitness as a whole connects to your confidence, to your ability, because so many things that we do in life are group efforts, you know, and this company is not just me; it's a lot of people. You know, yes, I was one of the founders, but I mean, I have a partner and I have an amazing team. I mean, I wouldn't do any of that without them. But fitness is really an individual thing, and you have more people going against you than going with you, you know, a lot of times. And I think that that gives you a lot of confidence, especially if you make a transformation. You know, we see these people who make these incredible transformations. You work with many of them, and we see them all on Instagram on Transformation Tuesday, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a huge amount of respect for those people, but at the same time, irrelevant. I mean, I've got some great transformation pictures. I've never posted them, but they're great, inspiration for me, because it's truly something, especially when you grab a program and you read it and you put it to place and no one else is helping you, no one else is, yeah, you read your inspirational messages and these things, but it gives you a lot of confidence, honestly. It gives you a lot of confidence in your personal life, in your work life, and I think that that's a really great benefit for a lot of people. You know, I mean, it's like you want to be that whole package, but at the same time, I mean, being fit is worthless if you aren't successful in a lot of other things. So it's just nice to have, this whole package of things where you're successful in business or you're successful in your education and you also are mentally successful, and then you're also, successful in fitness. So it just helps to create this rounded package. But I truly think so much of what we do in life is not a singular effort, where many times I think fitness can be that, because you're the one that has to mentally get yourself to the gym. No one else. I mean, people help, but at the end of the day, you're the one that creates your own fate when it comes to fitness. What you put in your mouth. So many people, you see all these people who are overweight, and you never see them eat a big meal when they're out in public, but they're not following a rigorous, diet elsewhere. So it's a mental game, and I think that's what's cool about fitness, is that mental strength that you gain while being successful in your fitness program carries over in a lot of other areas.
Right. Okay. Cool. And finally, for anyone that's following the Warrior Shredding program, or someone's just about to start, is there any advice you'd give them to to really excel in the program?
I mean, I've turned a lot of people onto the Warrior Shredding program. Obviously, we know that, and I've told you about a lot of people here at Restoration Media that follow that program. I think the great thing about the Warrior Shredding program is not for everybody, but you have to really want that leanness. You have to want to be that. I think the Greek God program is a morph of the Warrior Shredding program. That's where I think the cool thing about the two programs is, like, if you really want to gain a lot of size, you can probably jump right into that Greek God program, because it has a lot of these same elements in there. But the Warrior Shredding program, I think, is for guys who really want that lean, chiseled look, they may not want to look great when they're fully clothed, but they want to maintain that structure, that European look, which is what I like. And I think the advice that I have is that the results really do come, but they're not going to come overnight, but you will see immediate gratification with the program. And I think what a lot of it has to do is, just mentally prepare yourself that you're going to see a lot of these results without a lot of work. And I think that's what will work in the gym. A lot of people think, I've got to do tons of this and I've got to go to the gym 6 days a week. Hold back from trying to overwork, because I was doing it to myself, and I was overworking and not seeing the results. And really, I mean, I even message you sometimes, can I go to the gym more? Am I going to accelerate? And even I'm a follower, and I know what your answer is going to be, but sometimes I still want to push it and find ways to just accelerate. And honestly, going to the gym more is not going to accelerate your gains. And I think this is one of those areas in life where it's hard, because sometimes if we work more, we're going to make more. Sometimes if we work harder, we're going to get smarter. Sometimes if you put more time into studying for that test, you're going to get a better grade. This is a little bit of the opposite. Sometimes this is where less sometimes is more, and it's hard because we're mentally trained the opposite. You know that more is going to equal more success, and I think that's my biggest advice is just try to overcome that. Like, let yourself really do follow the program. Take your rest days, take your days off. Don't just be like, I'm going to go do, I'm going to take less rest and go do this workout B today next to workout A. You're not going to be as strong on B, and it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hard for me. So that's my advice, is just really try to stick to the program, because, when you get really amped up and you're ready to, get things in gear, you want to be at the gym 6 days a week. And just don't do it, because you won't see the success, and then you'll go through multiple months of being like, I went to the gym all this time and I really didn't need to. And then once you really cut back, then you're going to see the results and the gains. And that was, for me, I think something that I had a mental challenge with, especially being an entrepreneur. When I started this business, I worked 16-hour days and I was always here. So I think you carry that over into your fitness. If I go 2 times a day, I'm going to see twice the results, and that's not the case.
Dude, that was beautifully put, and the way you articulated how this fitness thing, getting in incredible shape, is not the same as many other areas of life where you put in more work, you get more bang, you get more back. It's different. Your way of illustrating that is perfect. I am gonna have to just clip that part out to use it. That was genius. But yeah, dude, so well said. And man, you got so much energy. You talk with so much passion. It's inspiring. I could see you really just. I'm gonna have to hire you for Kinobody.
Well, I know that's how it was when we first talked. So for me, it's a kind of, you get a lot of this excitement because I try not to mentally bore people with talking about this outside, because a lot of people don't want to hear it. So, but the people who are listening right now probably want to hear this and want this motivation. So it's great because I think they'll get it. But that's the whole thing, is like, just do this for yourself. You don't need to go talk about it with everybody. You don't need to tell them what you're doing. They'll notice what you're doing. And they'll start questioning you. That was probably one of my biggest motivations, was when people started coming up to me at the gym and asking me what I was doing. That keeps you motivated too. So at the same time, you don't need to go tell everyone what you're doing. They'll realize that you're doing something.
Okay.
Cool. It was the first time I ever had that. People were like, "Wow, you're really changing."
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and just like, man, we just keep going on. But I guess one thing I wanted to bring up was, the fasting is a huge component of the program. And so, what was your experience with intermittent fasting? It's amazing, because so many people that switch to it, they think it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. How am I gonna handle not eating in the morning? And then they turn out to love it and they feel better.
Oh, I live for it. Honestly, like fasting, for me, that I told you, that's my favorite part of the program. Mm-hmm. And people think it's a temporary thing. They think it's amazing for me. I love it because I'm so much more satisfied, and at the same time, personally, I never really liked breakfast anyways. When I have breakfast now, it's kind of a treat, that type of thing. But yeah, I love it, because I'm telling you, like, it's so great for me. I told you I have a busy schedule. I travel a lot, that type of stuff. And imagine you arrive at, you're ready to get going, even whether it's working or whether it's sightseeing, and then you have to wake up and you have to go have breakfast. Now, if it's an enjoyable experience, it's fine. It's completely different. Like, if I'm having breakfast with friends and we're hanging out and we're drinking mimosas, it's just a treat. So I have it. But if I'm waking up in the morning, I love it. I just get started with my day. I love my espressos. They definitely help me. And then I feel like I'm not even thinking about food. I'm just so mentally connected. And I do think that, honestly, what I did feel, and this was completely eliminated when I started fasting, was after my lunch meal, I would get super tired, always, because this was when I was eating breakfast and eating throughout the whole day, and eating those like meals every 3 hours, which I think is nonsense. But I used to always get really groggy, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, that type of stuff. I have none of that. My energy levels throughout the day are consistent. I sleep incredibly well. My head hits the pillow. I'm knocked out. I wake up when I want to wake up, which is in a very small, a short span of time. But at the same time, I just wake up. I mean, it's hard in the beginning sometimes, to push the fast. And once you get over that, for me, it's huge on the lifestyle. I don't think I'll ever not fast anymore. But I mean, it's not because I feel like I don't even see what I'm doing as fasting. I just see it as norm now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because what I did, Greg, was super interesting to me is I started to look around at all my friends, and I started to survey them. I said, so tell me about your eating habits. And all of the ones that were super lean and fit were already fasting and they didn't even realize it. They just skipped breakfast. Like my best friend, Matthias, actually, super lean, has always been lean. He's on Greek God right now, and he's gained tons of muscles. I mean, I was actually at the beach with him a couple weeks ago, and someone walked up to him and grabbed his arms and were like, "Wow, these are new." So he's doing great on that program. He loves it. And but the cool thing about him was I asked him, I said, so what's your eating habits? And he was already fasting. His first meal was at 2 p.m. He just didn't like breakfast. And so I started to analyze that with other people and realized that a lot of people who are super lean were just not eating breakfast. So then that's kind of sold me on the fact that you'll find these people and you ask them, do you eat breakfast and stuff? Or they'll I know, I just drink coffee. When do you eat your first meal? 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Well, they're not even realizing they're fasting. It's just a lifestyle for them. And you kind of do that and you look around and you see the results. Maybe they're not working out or whatever, but they're definitely a lot leaner than the people who aren't fasting.
Yeah, man. Very cool. I'm this very similar where it's like, I don't see it as fasting. This is normal. I'm like, whoa, you eat breakfast? Crazy. Eating in the morning? That is weird. Ew. I would never think about food in the morning. God. And it's funny how you brought up the fact that a lot of people who are like the leanest people just inherently, unconsciously just skip breakfast. They don't even realize it. It's cool, actually. Come to think about it, when I was in high school, my sort of step brother, not really, kind of, he was a couple of years older, and I was very into fitness throughout high school and even earlier. And so I would see him. He would never eat breakfast, and he would take like 2 huge sandwiches to lunch, and he was ripped as shit. He was lean as hell. And I was like, dude, you gotta eat breakfast, the most important meal of the day. Like, trust me. Like, I used to say that stuff when I was young, and I didn't know better. And man, and he just.
Well, I mean, you always think about it. Think about it. The breakfast is like breaking your fast.
Right.
So it's just like my breakfast is my lunch. That's when I break my fast.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, I really started to mentally analyze that and just kind of, it wasn't that I was doing a survey, but I would just ask people that I knew around me that were lean, and inherently they just were the ones that weren't eating breakfast.
Right.
And, and so it makes sense. And once you can stop the nonsense of people saying breakfast is the most important meal of the day, for me it's just non-existent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. And I guess just to kind of cover, like, because there are some people that skip breakfast and are very overweight. I've seen this happen, but like this is like these are the people that might be like really stressed with work. They skip breakfast, but then instead of like focusing on good nutrition, instead of eating like lean meats and healthy food, they'll like go and have like the donut. They'll put tons of milk and sugar in or cream and sugar in their coffee. They'll at night they'll like sit by the TV and just snack on ice cream or chips. And so yeah, that's not going to work. That is not going to fly. But if you're
because the truth is you can't. The macros are still the macros.
Yeah.
Like you can't fast and then eat 3 times your RMR, and expect to be. It helps. That's the whole idea. Is it helps because. Would you rather, I mean, I like the whole concept of thinking about, would you rather eat 6 300-calorie meals or 6 500-calorie, whatever the number is for you, calorie meals a day, or would you rather eat 2 big 1,200-calorie meals a day? I mean, I'm signing up for 1,200-calorie meals.
Yeah.
And then trying to eat a 1,200-calorie meal is hard too. I mean, sometimes it's like 750, 800 calories, you're consuming a lot of food at that point. So I think it just helps you feel a lot more satisfied, which is what I like. I would hate to go, I hated to be, when I was counting calories before fasting, would hate to be at my dinner meal mentally knowing that I only had like 500 calories to eat. It became a mental battle to me. Now I don't really count calories or anything, but I know, portion control, I know my dinner can always be big. And that, I think, is really satisfying to end the day and all that kind of stuff. So you get to have a nice big lunch. Plus, it also, truthfully, if you're one of those people that do eat out, it makes eating out a lot easier. Go to a restaurant with 500 calories to eat, good luck. Go to a restaurant with 1,200, you're going to find something on the menu to fulfill that calorie intake, where with 500 calories, there's nothing. There's no options.
You're gonna have to get like some boring plain salad with light dressing.
Yeah.
And it's gonna suck. Yeah.
Well, for 1,200 calories, you can get a burger and a salad. I mean, there's options. I mean, that's the thing. So it's not, that's what I think, it makes life so much more flexible. If someone comes up and goes, Nick, do you want to go out to dinner tonight? Sure. Like, I'm not going to have any problem anywhere I go. But if I only have, 500 calories, I'm going to be screwed. So that's why I think it's a program that's easy. It's flexible. It works wherever you are, whether you're traveling, whether you're at home. There's no meal prep really involved. You can eat normal things. You just have to be aware. And that's why I think it just works. It's something you can stick to. And like I told you, I'm on warrior shredding basically all year long. I mean, with a little bit of a recomp focus. I eat a little bit more calories, things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just easy to follow. Like, I just think it's a life program for me, because I really like it. I love the workouts. I love the fasting. I love the nutrition. Lots of flexibility. Once you know the program, I don't need any guidebook. I don't have to log anything. I just stick to it. And that's what I like about it. There's no counting things. There's no, the only thing I chart is my, my lifts. So I, know where I am and if I'm, if I'm seeing strength gains. But I don't chart my weight. I do very little measurements now. In the beginning I did, but now I know myself. I know my body. I know my results. I see myself in the mirror. So it makes it really easy. And I think that is what people can look forward to with a program like this, is that once you get over that first 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, you can stick to this program and it just gets even easier.
Dude, yeah, awesome. And so I'm actually, in the next little bit, I'm going to be doing some updates on my courses. And is there anything you think I could do to make warrior shredding?
Well, I want to ask you something. I have a good question for you. My question is, so the original warrior shredding on the workouts has these, these 4 sets of 12, or 4 sets of 10 to 12, on these, or 15 on these exercises. Do you think that the rest pause training is better even with warrior shredding?
Yeah. I like if you're, for example, with warrior shredding on like the lateral raises and the rear delts, which are really important exercises to hit to build proper cap shoulders, hands down, a rest pause setup is going to be more effective, because in the program it's mostly around reverse pyramid training, building strength, getting stronger. But when you're doing stuff like lateral raises, if you go heavy, you're gonna like hurt your joints. You're gonna feel it more in your joints than your muscles. So the best way to build muscle with light weights, higher reps, is through rest pause training, where you're gonna hit like your first set for 12 to 15 reps, till failure, and then instead of like resting a minute, 2 minutes, you're gonna just rest 10, 15 seconds and then do sets of like 4 or 5 reps. And so the idea there is, with high reps, you're not getting that much muscle fiber stimulation until those last really tough few reps. So then,
because I mean, those, like in warrior shredding now, it's really just all of these straight sets, as these last exercises. So for me, I think that's a great thing, is to do those rest pause. So kind of like that's where I'd like to see, is that since I think have gained so much knowledge in a lot of your training, I think warrior shredding really needs to kind of be amped up and revised to kind of include some of that new knowledge that I have, because I've done the other programs and follow the new ones. But I think people who are starting warrior shredding today, I also like the rest pause because you get your heart rate up. It's a cool feeling too. So yeah, because I mean, for example, that's something that I've modified already. Is I do a lot of the rest pause instead of just 4 sets of 12 on the lateral raises, or on things like that. So that's some of the knowledge that would be my suggestion for this program. Is it probably needs to the warrior shredding needs a kind of an amplification with all of your new knowledge.
Okay, bam. Yeah, that is going to be definitely updated next week. And that will mostly be, yeah, all the movements that are like 4 sets of 12 or 10 to 12. I'm going to switch that to RPT, reverse pyramid training and rest pause training, same acronym. Funny
Yeah.
enough, I'm going to change that to rest pause training, and yeah, that's really effective.
Yeah, because I mean, on the two exercises on warrior shredding would be the lateral raises basically, and those rear delt flies. Um, and I think it makes a lot more sense, and actually even reduces the time of the workout, which is great. You're in boom, 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 and you're probably going to see more results because, because I was doing the mega training on the Greek god, and I loved all of the, kind of the
Standard pyramid training or
the ones where where you do a little bit, you do the you keep incrementing the sets, so 12 more, 12 more, every time, and with less rest. Those were great for me to gain size, and I actually think that with the rest pause, you kind of see the size build up a little quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's the rest pause started doing a couple of years ago, and it worked really, really well. I kind of am partial to it with like lateral raises and rear delts and stuff, but it's good for any like stubborn muscle group. But yeah, dude, I'm gonna make those changes.
For me, Greg, I think the big thing is like I think where I'd like to see personally, I think the warrior shredding program almost needs to kind of have this new chapter about like staying a warrior. Basically, it's kind of like you don't need to. I feel like a lot of people, when they finish the warrior shredding program, they think they need to move on. Like they need to move to Greek god or a muscle building program. I don't think you need to. I think it's like it's basically the recomp program, but somehow a part of warrior because with evolved training and all this new knowledge and maybe just increased, because there is a recomp section and all that. It's just more like I think people need to get an idea that you can actually stay on the warrior shredding program, for a longer period of time. So it's like that moving to maintenance, but somehow when people hear the word shredding, they think I can't be indefinitely shredding. No, I mean at some point you're maintaining. So that's where I think like it's like moving off of this idea of shredding to just maintaining your warrior status basically.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good finish. So I mean, essentially, there'd be like two options for people that want to progress and gain more muscle and size. They go to the Greek god program, but some people are going to want to maintain that slimmer, more wiry look, and so
that's me. I mean, that's me all the way. And I think I learned that the hard way, and not the hard way, but I learned that through trial. And I'm like, honestly, I mean, I worked out, I've done Greek god, and I'm back to warrior shredding. Like even though I feel like the idea of shredding, I don't think I'm shredding anymore. It's just I'm still gaining. It's just it's through a different method. It's still through low calories, through not through a little bit less intense workouts. Yeah, I have my heavy list, but it's only 2 sets. And since I'm knowledgeable on the other programs, I think I was able to get back here. But I think a lot of people will honestly be super happy with just staying on this type of program. I have a lot of friends who like my body type, who have my body type, and they like it. I like leanness. I like the way that I look. I don't want to have, I don't want to change from a 39 shirt. I like that size. I'm happy there. I'm happy with that aesthetic. I like a very lean face. So that's the type of look that I like. And I think that's what's confusing, I think, for a lot of people is they think this is a program that they have to leave at some point. You can honestly move to maintenance with some enhancements to your training, still gain size, but somehow still really maintain that nice
look. Yeah, no, exactly. That's beautiful. Like I'm always, excited to get sort of feedback like this, which I can kind of improve the program, or just make it sink in with more people. Yes. So we've gone over, but that's okay
Yeah.
because some episodes we like to go over, mix things up. Why stick to the same time slot every time? It's crazy.
You can't
But
break your fast at the same time every day, so.
yeah. Oh man. But yeah. If you're ever in Toronto, definitely hit me up.
Sure.
Most
Well,
of
I
the
know you're in LA. We're gonna get together when you're here next time, I'm sure, and we'll
good.
hash it out. We
Are
can
you
be.
close to the LA area?
What?
Are you close to the LA area?
I'm in Orange County, so I'm only like 45 minutes away.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been an absolute blast, and we'll have to talk again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Have a good one.
Yeah. Take care.